I get so frustrated, and at the same time, uh, inspired in those kind of stores that are like specialty stores, like where you know that some people come and they know what they're doing here. And then I sometimes come and I'm like, I don't know what exactly I want, or like where it is, especially if it's the first time going to the store. And I get so like overthinking. One of my biggest fear growing up in general was to feel stupid. Like, I am so scared of being stupid. I'm so scared of being not intelligent in a way, like I'm scared of not knowing about a certain thing. It's like super normal. For example, when you're like in a group of friends and you're talking about someone and somebody says like, oh, have you seen this meme that's like going around, or this like story or whatever, or have you seen this film, have you read this book, my like automatic response is to say yes. For some reason I can, like, it's really hard for me to say no, even if in these kind of situations, even if it's like very normal, like, no, we don't have time to see everything, to know about everything. That's super natural that there's some things that you're unknowledgeable of, but for me it's such like a fear to end up being somewhere, not even a group of people, but in a situation where I would not know a certain thing. And I feel like that's why sometimes I get so in my head in like these kind of specialty stores, because I kind of accept as a given that all of the people around me know way more about the specialty than me, and I feel like I'm being like an imposter in there, and that I feel like, even though I do know things about stuff, like it's not like I come to the art store and I've never hold a brush in my life. I have, and it's not like I'm a complete starter in those things, but I always feel a little bit pressed in those stores, and I'm trying to change that. So I'm trying to always go to a physical store if I can, because ordering online eliminates this problem, and I feel like it's something that I can figure out.
So I realized that it's not even explain what I was doing in the art store. From my friend, I got this sketchbook as a gift, which is this super small sketchbook, but with very thick kind of papers. And I thought that I could try and work on some watercolor drawings. So that's w- for what I went to the art store and I bought a little travel pack watercolors. That's what I got. That's what I got in the art store, and that's what I was doing on the following videos.
Earlier, I talked about my fear of being stupid and being unknowledgeable, and I'm trying to work on it. Actually, one of the things that I do and I try to do to expose myself when I know that I've said a lie, like if I agreed that I've seen it, I would say like, actually I just lied, I did not see that, or I did not read that, or I don't know about that. A good thing to do, because you're like allowing the other person to share some knowledge, and that's like really basic mutual benefit of any kind of relationship between people. Of course, different people have different interests, knowledges, backgrounds and stuff, and learning through that is really important. Like, it's part of friendships, it's part of relationships, it's part of any connections. And I feel like me self-sabotaging myself on like agreeing that I know this, that I'm part of your knowledge group. It's just I like kind of not allowing myself to have this like mutual sharing between people, and it's a little bit upsetting for me. Like I wanna, because I actually have like, sharing my knowledge is one of my favorite things of doing. I love doing that. I love saying, if I read something on the internet, if I read a book and now I have like a certain new a new viewpoint on something, I love sharing those things. Even if I just like saw something very simple, I love sharing. And I feel like when I lie because of my own insecurity of being stupid, I lie and I take away the right of the other person to share something with me and get that satisfaction from sharing and from kind of giving another person a new perspective and new information and stuff like that. And I feel like that's unfair to the other people and to myself as well, because I know that if I said yes, we probably wouldn't have as interesting conversation as when I say no and I accept that I'm maybe clueless in this topic and I don't know anything about it. But then when the person tells me through their own perspective, I can maybe add something on, or maybe I actually did heard about this but in another way, and it's like makes the conversation way more productive. You learn more things and both of you end up being in a better place. I feel like then when we agreed and I lied or they lied as well, it doesn't matter, and then in the end usually the conversation just goes a little bit dead, because I cannot really be as passionate about the topic because I'm worrying and hoping that they will not catch my lie and they would see that I'm not part of them, and then they don't have that satisfaction of this pisses me off. They don't have the satisfaction of like sharing, and that's like really important. Everyone likes sharing, I feel like, especially just like, I mean, technically half of our life is listening to other people sharing. I mean, you go to school, you sit 12 years listening to some teachers telling you things, then then your classmates, blah blah blah, then you go to uni, it's all about the sharing, and then in the end it's like you're diminishing the return that you could get from any kind of sharing. And I feel like that fear as well comes with just a regular feel of failure, which I'm also trying to work on, especially in creative activities. Even these kind of videos that I make are also kind of helping me work it out and work on like knowing that not everything can be perfect and not everything will be perfect, and that I also cannot really control a lot of the things that I do. I mean, I can control them, but I can never control feedback from that I can get from that and stuff like that. And I feel like that comes with at the end with feeling stupid, because I feel like I'm scared of failing and that would make me believe that I'm actually not capable of doing something and that I'm actually in the end not really smart. But by smart I don't mean that it's like smart more scholarly and academically, more like as a person. I don't have enough, for example, emotional intelligence to understand something, to maybe have a connection with a person and not be able to give them the right feedback, or not being able to give myself the right feedback when I'm not sure about something, when I'm in a weird situation, in a scary situation, and maybe a complicated one, whatever it is. And for example, it goes for emotional intelligence, it goes for maybe not fully realizing my ambitions, but also just wants. For example, I really want to be good at sketching, but not in, again, not in like super realistic drawings, la la la. No, I'm just more fearful of like not being able to realize my idea on paper, for example. It all comes hand in hand, like the skill, the thought process, the ideas, la la, all. I'm talking about everything like together. It just in the end all comes to the fact that everyone, I don't think, maybe it's too general to say everyone, but I feel like nowadays almost everyone is just scared of not succeeding, not being able to do something that they enjoy or not enjoy. Everyone has these different goals in the end, but I feel like everyone is just scared of not being able to complete at least one goal, at least in the slightest way possible. That's what makes everything so competitive and all of that. And then it's hard to make any decision individually by yourself. I feel like not even in the creative, like artistic sense, where I'm not sure that's the way I want to draw, that's when I want to finish drawing, maybe I should put another color, maybe I should not, la la. And all of these questions, in the end, they're not even about my artistic process. They already give you too much of the thinking skill, and it's so hard to try and do it more intrinsically, more naturally, more as if you're doing it in a flow state, as if you're not really thinking of what you're doing. And it's really hard to get into that way, and it requires a lot of work. And those who succeeded, they're probably my idols. Yeah, but at this point, it's even hard to cook something without looking at the recipe. Well, I know how to cook vegetables, how to roast vegetables in the oven, but I still maybe should look up the recipe just in case. But I know it, but I don't trust myself, or like, I don't know what's this, like, what's the boundary? Either it's trust, either it's fear. You still like question yourself, even though you know, but you need this always to be questioning whether you 100% know that. Why maybe every conspiracy theory is kind of successful, because it gives you that question that maybe it's not as simple. And it may be not simple, maybe simple, nobody knows really. And it's like, you're always in the state of questioning. Yeah, I feel like that's been my problem, also because I just tend to overthink a lot of things, but also questionable. It's like, I guess emotional reliance on that question and that not trusting yourself is what makes any kind of process harder, because you have more steps that you have to go through in order to get to the end. For example, my art teacher would always make this comment for myself that I have to stop thinking and I have to just do it. But babe, I don't know how to do that. I'm learning now. Like now, any project, mostly it's like an artistic, like a creative art project I take up, I know that I can fail and it will be okay. Like now, for example, today I bought the watercolors. I have not painted with watercolors in I don't know how many years. I don't even remember how to do it. But, you know, I knew that even if my first drawing does not go as planned, I don't really like it, it's okay, I can make another one. And even if I'm gonna ruin my first page of my sketchbook, it's fine, whatever, it's part of the process. But it's still really hard to like get this mindset into my head. And my art teacher would always say that. And also he would always say that when you don't know where to go next, you have to ruin, you have to mess it up. And from that point, it will be easier for you to get through it, because then when you don't know what is the problem, you kind of create so many possible scenarios in your head. That's how I interpreted his words, actually, so I don't know if he actually meant that. But when you ruin it, you get a clear stage, more of a clear stage, you have more of a new perspective, and usually from a new perspective it's easier to get going. And then in the end, usually you realize that what you've messed up, you have not actually messed up, you've just made a change. Because then whenever you stop and start questioning, that's just a moment of fear and of being scared of not having the right outcome. And I feel like now everything is centered on outcome. Everyone wants for you to get an output. You cannot do anything without it having any kind of ending result. There always has to be an ending to what you're doing. And I feel like that's such a non-productive way of thinking in any process, because then if you end up being brave enough to do something new, and in general just to start something, it's always really scary. And the system and the society is so output centered that when you don't get this output immediately, you get just so motivated and lost, because you don't know if that's your problem, or it's just part of the process, or maybe you did something wrong, and it just creates more and more and more and more and more and more questions. I feel like it's hard whenever you're not sure, so it just makes the whole process even harder. And yeah, so now I'm kind of trying to be more free will in that sense of starting any projects. I can always rip the page out if I don't like it enough, and nobody will see it, and I won't see it, and nobody would acknowledge this failure, and then I can always start from a new page. You can always start from a new page. Yeah, I just been trying to work my head into this kind of mindset, and it helps you later in long term, because then you're way more open in sharing or just coming up with new ideas or starting new ideas, because you know, well, if you fail, it's okay. And that will just make this process 30 times easier, because you're not gonna center all of your attention on output, but you're gonna enjoy the process and progress way more. But if you would have stopped in the first page, but I think for me personally, that's like a few of the main fears that I have, is always the fear of becoming not knowledgeable and becoming stupid, and also failing, which comes hand in hand. It just ruins it, really. It ruins the fun, it ruins the enjoyment, it ruins the appeal of starting anything new, it ruins a lot of things. And I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to be more tolerable towards myself and my potential flaws, let's say. So if you had something in mind that you were scared of starting, start it. Just start it, because then you're gonna know that you tried, and if you failed, well, you can try again tomorrow and you'll be fine. It's not gonna be the end of the world. Just start it, and that's already is your strength. You were able to start it.